Dr. Mark Shanahan is Associate Professor of Politics at the University of Surrey. Mark, welcome back. Good to see you. President Trump got almost everyone in NATO to cough up 5% GDP spend on defence. Now, of course, European countries have to find the cash. Will pleasing Mr. Trump on the international stage mean inflicting displeasure on the voters at home?
Potentially, yes, but this is not an immediate hit for any country in Europe. The increase to 5% is due to happen by 2035, when, of course, Donald Trump will be long gone from the political scene. And it is notional in that sense. It's not all going to happen immediately for EU countries. The EU has flexed its rules so that they can increase spending over a 4-year period up to 1.5% each year, but it will be significant pain. This is the end of the Cold War dividends for Europe, where America largely picked up the cost for the defence of Western Europe against, first of all, the Soviet Union and subsequently Russia. Russia remains a very significant threat. And I think citizens across Europe are going to have to suck up some pain to ensure a safe collective defence.
We've heard a lot from the politicians over the last 24 hours, but not much from the people paying the bills. Will voters across Europe tolerate higher defence spending over the coming decade, higher taxes and poorer public services?
If it is not imposed too harshly and too quickly, there is a real sense that Russia presents a significant threat to Western Europe. Whether you are in Poland or any of the other countries bordering Russia, or further away in some of the bigger economies, France, Germany, the UK, that sense of concern about Putin's Russia at the moment is very, very significant. Even if there is a ceasefire in Ukraine, that ceasefire gives the Russians time to rebuild their forces. They're certainly going to spend more than 5% of GDP on their own defence. So there is a tacit understanding, country by country, it will be felt. There will be some protests, but overall, the political mood across NATO, the EU countries within that, are for a stronger defence, and that's going to cost.
Spain, of course, Spain's Prime Minister Sanchez publicly rejecting this 5% target, clashing with President Trump. Spain's judgment, presumably, that it needs to pay for health and education and social care rather than an increase in defence spending. Was that a political misstep or calculated to retain support at home?
The Prime Minister faces huge domestic issues in Spain. There are big corruption cases being pointed at his party, and at the moment he is trying to avoid having to call snap elections. Now, in these get-togethers, like we saw in The Hague yesterday, a lot of what each individual leader says is more for their domestic audience than it is maybe to appease Donald Trump or to create some kind of argument with him. Donald Trump has got an awful lot on his plate as well. Spain doesn't rate very highly on that. He can't impose sanctions just on Spain in the way that he says, because Spain is a member of the EU. I think this one will turn out to be a bit of a storm in a teacup. It will brew for a little while, but in the end, I think the US and Spain will remain reasonable friends, and I'm sure Spanish defence spending will rise.
Mark, good to see you. Thanks for that. Dr. Mark Shanahan, Associate Professor of Politics at the University of Surrey.